As Elliot Hale Appleman! As Margo Summer Bishop! As Penny Arjun Gupta! As executive producer Sarah Gamble! As other executive producer John McNamara! How many people are caught up? How many people are caught up? Okay, good. Just because it's been a few months since you saw the last episode of The Magicians, just in case you have forgotten where we're at, let's do a little bit of recap of season 2. We'll do a quick 3-minute recap, and then we'll come back and we'll start talking about things. Roll the thing!
Bone down, but if a legendary Pokemon comes into this, I need someone to scream. What sucks about being Quentin is that I think what he wants is unspecific because what he wants is happiness, and what the fuck does that mean?
Right.
And it becomes this sort of like rat race of that's an ever shifting view of the world and like of self. So like how like I don't know how he is a person of logic, and he's a person that like wants to quantify things, and happiness is not something that you can quantify.
Right.
And so it's just this eternal search that I don't know if it'll, who knows. I don't know what happens.
Well, but it is a larger theme in the show of everyone kind of having to grow up in a sense and be adults in a world where they kind of don't want to be adults, because if you have magic, that should solve everything. But the more you use magic, the worse everything gets. So it seems like on the one hand, oh, it's so sweet, he wants to bring Alice back and he really loves Alice. But on the other hand, like, it might be a little selfish on his part, do you think?
Why? He doesn't know what the fuck's going on. Is she a Niffin? Is she a dead? Is she a ghost? He could be rescuing her from like an eternity as a ghost. Like, he's just trying to rescue the woman he loves. Like,
right.
That's beautiful, and that is, it's a righteous cause.
Except she's never asked to be rescued.
We were going to get political.
No more magicians, just all politics the entire time. No, people aren't sick of hearing it. But I do think, he is, and now he finally kind of seems to get this, this situation back that he wants, and then all shit breaks loose again in the end. So where is he at mentally at the end of season 2?
Heartbroken. I think he learned a lot. Season 2, like on this journey, pursuing, bringing Alice back to life. I think he shed a lot of the bullshit that he was carrying around with him for so long. I like this idea of him becoming sort of addicted to the journey, addicted to forward momentum.
Yeah.
And because if you stop, you're forced to self-reflect.
Right.
And I think for him right now, there's danger in that. And so I think he sort of like at all costs is going to be pushing this thing forward.
Excellent. Julia had a really difficult journey in season 2 in particular. And just emotionally, can you talk a little bit about, what her arc was to you and what it meant to you?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was a roller coaster, for lack of a better term. But season 1 was just sort of like to be expected, right? Because it was in the novels, and I knew sort of what I was getting into. And then season 2 was like, whoa, I had no idea what was happening. And then the shadeless Julia, who I kind of like. It's kind of like, but
I get that, girl.
I like that girl. That girl's good, bad, and all the right, in the good ways. Wow, that came out wrong. But she's, it was crazy. I didn't know sort of like what to think, I guess, about her because, you know, on the one hand, I understand where she's coming from, and then on the other hand, I'm like, no, why? Don't do that, or don't react that way, or... And it's hard when you're in it and when you've endured something that's that intense and that real, to sort of like step outside of it and be able to navigate it.
Sure.
Yeah.
With just the way that she dealt with Renard in the end, I saw a lot of reactions. People like, what? I mean, I think I wanted to see her like blow him through in a million pieces. But she lets him go, and so how do you think that decision affects who Julia will be moving forward?
I actually love that decision because I think it shows empathy and sort of compassion in a world that there's a lot of lack thereof, you know, and it shows that like you can't, you know, to be empathetic and sympathetic and understanding that nobody's perfect and people make mistakes, and to be able to have forgiveness. You know, you can't forget, but you can forgive.
Right.
So I actually think it makes her a better person, a stronger person.
Alice also, just since season 1, I feel like has gone through the most transformations, just in terms of who she started as and what there's been a couple different iterations of Alice. So is she still, in her current incarnation, is she still Alice post-Niffen, or is she something else?
Wouldn't you like to know? Alice has always been very complicated, and it was really fun in season 2 to get to find a very feral version of a character that was so buttoned up. And I had one idea, I had this idea of Alice when I read the books that I fell in love with, and then in season 2 I got to blow that wide open and be like, who is this person on a different level? And Alice got to experience what it's like to be a Niffen, which is so much fucking better than being magic on Earth. So I think she has a lot of secrets and a lot of stuff inside her that just can't come out right now, and she's really fucking pissed.
And so she's basically stuck in a classroom right now. Like, once she's had this experience of being able to travel through the universe as pure magic, and it just sort of ends like, well, she's in a classroom at a desk kind of doing homework.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't trust her at this moment in time. But it is really depressing for her to have to come back to Earth at this, right now, with magic being gone. She went from being in a place of pure magic and knowing what that meant and what that felt like and what she was capable of, and it's nothing close to what it's like on Earth. And to come back here against her will, and to have no magic. No, it was really sweet, Quentin. Thank you very much for bringing me back. She has a lot on her plate, but
She's sorting it out. Elliot, how is he dealing with all this responsibility?
I think at first, when he becomes the High King, he doesn't really realize what he's getting himself into. And he attempts to recreate the life that he had at school, which was, I'm at the top of the heap, I can essentially control my surroundings and live a life of frivolity and debauchery and get away with it. And he's enough of a genius that he doesn't have to study that hard. He's Elliot, for God's sake. So, I think the kingdom really kind of like took him down a few notches, and he was struggling with some addiction. He's in a new land. He doesn't know which end is up, and he's not formally trained in ruling a country of people he knows nothing about. So, yeah, it's a big learning curve for him, and he can't recreate his past, so he's coming to terms with being a real person to other people and acknowledging his own brokenness.
Do you think that was his defense mechanism? Or do you think, are there things he's afraid of?
Oh yeah, I think there's a lot that he's afraid of. I think he seeks a lot of control and power, but he also desperately wants and needs to be loved and to find community and family. I think that's universal, and those things are sometimes at odds with each other. And I think for Elliot, he's having to juggle the internal emotional machinery of how those things conflict.
Right. Margo also had an awakening of responsibility that she had to deal with, because it was really just... for the last few years, it's been so much about partying and hanging out, and not having any real responsibility, and all of a sudden she's making these like life or death decisions that affect an entire population, and finding that it's not that easy when you're in charge and you have to do things to the best of your ability to make them work. So what is she learning, you think?
I think at first she's just sort of power drunk. It's like her wet dream, I think, to be queen of a, enchanted land. But yeah, like you said, there's so much darkness in the kingdom, and it's economically challenged, it's sexist. Like, a lot of times she wants to be more helpful and make wiser decisions, but the options are so limited to her. It's not set up for success. They're not set up for success when they arrive. And I think Margo has to really fight for her position as queen, even when she deals with the council, just to be heard, because it's all high king, high king, high king. They don't really listen to her. So I think she has to be pretty aggressive in her decision making just to be heard.
Do you agree with it? Do you agree with the decision that she made?
Absolutely.
With the fairies? I mean, with the fairies.
No, I don't, obviously, but I don't think she had another option. Obviously I don't agree with that. It's horrible. But I don't think that there was a lot of options available to her.
Well, that's why I kind of agreed with it, because I was like, what else is she supposed to do? They gave her this, they told her what to do. She did the best she could do to preserve the situation with what she had available. She was improvising.
Exactly. And I mean, if they had taken over, the Lorians at the time, we could have all been dead anyway. So I think she thought she was just saving who she could.
Right.
In the way that she thought was best, so yeah.
And Penny had an endless quest for working hands this season. One of the things that is so fascinating to me about the entire season arc with that is that it's really just kind of like, it almost works out for him, but he gets a little arrogant, and then the guy by the river is like, well, fuck you, and then like one little arrogant decision essentially affects everything else that happens to him after that.
I feel like that's Penny in a nutshell. And I appreciate the generosity of just a little bit of arrogance rather than an immense amount of arrogance.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah. I forgot what the question was, I'm not gonna lie.
It was about your hands. It was about Penny's, he means well and he does the best that he can, but I think, sometimes he's a little overly confident about situations. I got this. Maybe not as accustomed to working with a team, kind of lone wolfs it, which is so interesting because he's a traveler, but how does that, how do you think he's kind of starting to fit in with the group now because of that?
Yeah, I think all of us have a learning curve in the show, and I think that for Penny, a lot of it has to do with his inability to relate to others and inability to let people in, which is what's so thrilling about the relationship with Katie, is because we get to see a side of vulnerability, a side of intimacy, but he doesn't feel, whether he doesn't feel safe, whether he feels above the rest of the group, is probably that he feels arrogant towards the rest of the group, but he doesn't want to get involved with them, and season 2, when he loses his hands, I'm pointing at you guys because you did that to me multiple times, that he's forced to rely upon the group, and starting season 3, we're seeing more of the same. No one has magic, so he's kind of forced to grow up in this way that's quite lovely.
Yeah, and also just his special ability allows him to run away, like if he wants to.
Yeah, he takes advantage of that. I think. I think I would too sometimes. I think all of us would. I think, right? Would we?
Yes.
By the way, it's so crazy. I know we're a successful show, but I'm still floored and overwhelmed by how many people are in this room.
Yeah.
I was super nervous when I left. Holy moly. This is amazing. Thank you.
And Sarah, I just, again, you've done such an amazing job of bringing this show to life, and it's so many different sub-genres of show rolled into one. There's a heist episode, there's a musical episode, there's chasing. I mean, it's like everything. When you are putting the show together, is the idea like, well, what else can we do? How else can we evolve this?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think when we were sitting in John's garage talking about our dream show, in not so many words, we were like, we just want a show where we can do whatever the fuck we want, and it counts as the show.
Yeah.
So, our wish came true. That's what this show is. As long as it's grounded in these characters, as long as it feels emotionally true for them, as long as it builds on the beautiful world that Lev Grossman handed to us, there is no genre that The Magicians isn't. I mean, expect more musical numbers, expect a spaceship, why not, right?
And I asked you this question before, but I do think it's so. If you want to answer, that's fine. If John wants to jump in, but the idea, I have to commend sci-fi on going. You know what? This is how people talk. Let's not censor any of the language. Let's not censor the content. Short of like full penetration, there's nothing the show doesn't do.
Well,
It's true. I mean, it's like you couldn't want for more in a show. Almost like, they get away with everything. So, what was the decision to let the show breathe in that way?
I mean, we had one meeting with Sci-Fi when it was a pilot script that Sarah and I wrote on spec. We optioned Lev's books with our own money. We each wrote checks. Michael London, Sarah, and I wrote these little shaking hands. Oh my God, this is all I have in my savings account. But we had a bunch of meetings around town with other companies, and Sci-Fi just flat out said, we want to do this show. We're not going to put this into development. We're not going to, we want to once again lead in genre, as we did with Battlestar. And I've known these guys. I've known Jeff Longtell and Bill McGolder, who are the two guys in the meeting, for a long time, and I know that they keep their word. And when we walked out of the meeting, because I had a relationship with the guys, I just turned to Sarah and Michael and I said, this is it, we're home. And they've been amazing. I mean, not only, I gotta say, the creative freedom that we've had, but the marketing is insane. Like, I've been doing this a long time. Marketing is not only like, when the show's gonna roll out, it's not only huge, which you would expect from a worldwide conglomerate, it's also incredibly in line with the tone of the show. You know, I think some of us worked on shows where the poster, you're like, that's the poster?
Oh, I've worked on shows where I'm like, can we have a poster? I'll put it up in my room.
So I think overall, commending Sci-Fi and UCP, you kind of can't say enough, because without a good studio and without a supportive network, you really can't make a show like this.
Right.
You can't. You're just fighting all the time. We don't fight. We make the show we want to make.
Well, I want to show a little bit of footage so we have plenty of time for audience questions. This is a little bit of a sneak peek of season 3, if I'm not mistaken.
But my question is, for Elliot and the producers, when you guys were doing the Trial of the Crowns to get your crowns, for the 90s reference, why was it Swayze?
Because Swayze is awesome.
Thank you, Terrence.
I love that was the answer. Wait a minute, because Swayze was awesome. Next. What's your name?
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Alexis, and I'm a huge fan of the show, but also a huge fan of Supernatural. Yeah. And this is Sarah Gamble. I wanted to say, how does your writing change from doing that show to Magicians, where you guys are genre, but a totally different type of show?
Oh, I so appreciate that question. It's so cool to be in a room full of people who understand that genre is more than one thing. I have to be honest. I think of Supernatural as like the best graduate school I could have dreamed of. I learned how to produce something like this on a modest budget, and I'm kind of annoying in the room because people will pitch an idea and I'll be like, well, here's how we would have done it on Supernatural. But the good thing about that is Magicians is such a different show that Supernatural is kind of like my guardrails in a certain way.
I mean, I know what that show is. I feel that show in my heart. And Magicians is about something else. So if I feel like I'm treading too far over into the Eric Kripke, Bob Singer, Andrew Dabb, Jeremy Carver Waters, I just pull this back over here to the weirdos. The people who hate their brother, like really hate their brother. That's
I don't
this
have a
show.
brother, but I would hate him if I had one.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Who's next?
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
There's so many amazing scenes visually, and this can go towards any of you guys, but I would like to know what has been your favorite scene to film.
I had a lot of fun in the Jason scene where I was supposed to be drunk on horse booze and getting my hands chopped off the second time. It was a really beautiful moment for Jason and I as like friends and you know, coworkers. I had a good time. Did you?
Yeah, it was the best.
It was really fun.
Olivia, what about you?
I don't know, there's so many good ones. Season 1, it was season 1 where we had to do the black hole over the game, and like, we do so many practical effects on our show, and so we actually get to feel like we're doing fucking magic, and so you feel like a rock star for a minute, and then they had like a balloon fly over the auditorium and make it go completely black, and then lights come down, and wind is swirling, and
Our crew is like so fucking
they're
fantastic.
so good. So like, in that moment, you feel so awesome.
We get to do, like, we do these finger tucks, and then the environment around us actually changes.
Yeah. It's a fancy nipple twist.
Actually, I am curious how everyone approaches their different spell casting. Just like when you're doing it as an actor, what's in your head?
Stress. A lot of joint pain. I broke a finger recently, and so like that made it difficult. But magic's dead now, so it's fun. I don't have to do that anymore, which is awesome.
Magic's dead for you guys.
For most of you, yeah, but one person maybe not so much.
You know, hey,
Something going on at the end
I've
there.
got the power.
You do. What is your name, sir?
Hi, I'm Damien. My question was kind of just asked by you, Chris, but what I'd like to ask is, what have been the biggest challenges in bringing these characters to life, and what have you enjoyed about tackling those challenges?
I wish you would ask the question I asked, because you have a better accent than I do. That's 8 times better.
Yeah, like this comes with respect.
It does. Don't cry about it, Quentin. I just would have been so much into how are you twisting those nipples? Anyone?
Oh, I would say, I think more than anything, I guess, especially in first creating the characters in the first season, the expectation of a character that already existed and characters that had such a loyal and loving following. That was probably the hardest part, I'd say. Just meeting those expectations and trying our very best not to fuck it up.
I think for me, the thrill of the show, thanks to John, Sarah, and the writers, is that we're always in these extraordinary circumstances, and they're often life or death. And rooting those in emotional truth is a challenge, but also an incredible opportunity as actors. That, you know, we're not in a procedural where we're in the same police station finding that clue and then we solve the murder. No, it's sometimes we're committing the murders. Who knows? It's just thrilling as an opportunity.
No day on set is exactly the same.
For me, it's just walking with an eye patch and heels in a forest.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your question. Who's next? What's your name?
Hi, my name's Franklin. First, I'd like to say I love the idea of sphincter magic.
I did not, for the record.
In the show, you have a very special type of chef. What type of his cuisine would you like to sample next?
The chef's cuisine. Like, what's something else that he wants to? Yeah.
You're talking about Josh and
Yeah.
whatever gets me highest, honestly.
I'd love to see like a drug-infused pot roast.
Yeah. Make it interesting. Make a pot roast interesting for once.
Like homey, you know? Like, make me comfortable.
Yeah.
He's done with us.
So many stoners you think are like, yo man, we should make a pot roast. Like, I think I just want to sit here and
I want to be reminded of my mom.
Hey, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Brett Taylor. So I just want to say thank you guys for kind of bringing magic back into our day-to-day lives. You know, of course, been doing a great job on this book. But I want to know, as magicians, they have such torture and emotion that goes into driving their magical power. How do you, as actors, bring your personal emotions into your role?
I think I'm sorry, Arjun. Oh, okay.
No, go ahead. I
think-
didn't know how to answer that, so you by all means.
I think the beauty of these books and what drew all of us to this story was that these characters are so human and the magic is just sprinkled on top. And I think we're all a group of actors who are very much interested in telling the emotional journey of these human beings in their relationships with each other. So it's, I don't know, we all go through shit in life, and life is really hard, and relationships suck, and all that, and so I think it's not that hard to think of how difficult a breakup would be, but I don't know, it's fun to get to do the magic, but to get to touch in with how we feel about what it's like to have this human experience. The writers and John and Sarah give us such great opportunities to really explore deep with these characters. So.
Does anyone else have anything they want to add to that?
I was just going to say, I love that you said thank you for bringing the magic back into our lives. We all need to believe in a little bit of magic.
And I like how well loved your book